और करना है तो बाबा जी का करेंगे, हमारा क्यों करेंगे? उन्हीं का अभी तक एडिट नहीं हुआ है। हम लोग तो बहुत बाद में। वो कोई पूछ रहा था ना कि आई थिंक यू हैड आस्क्ड दैट ये जो सेशन है इसको कैसा माना जाए, सो आई सेड इट्स लाइक देयर इज अ सीरियल फॉर चिल्ड्रन कॉल्ड छोटा भीम कार्टून, कंपेयर टू मध्य दर्शन दिस इज छोटा भीम कार्टून। इसको रिकॉर्ड करके बहुत फायदा नहीं है, आई मीन रिपीटिंग द कार्टून विल नॉट हेल्प यू, यू हैव टू रीड द ओरिजिनल टेक्स्ट। सो हाँ, you go to the website, go for order, they'll send it to you by post. There's a single family, हमारा सब family based है, we don't have any setup, no organization, no office. There is a family in Raipur that sends it. If you write to them, it's all available for download, PDF. It's free if you want to read it. We are also coming up with Kindle versions of some of the books as we are moving the technology to Unicode compliant books. So you should Kindle compliant, and maybe in the next 3 to 4 years we'll have everything in Kindle as well. 12 books, and then 2 supplementary readers, some compilations that people like me are making which are not part of the official lot, and about and then if you're still interested and you still want to dig a hole like the Hamas have in Israel, you want to like go 50 meters down and dig 2 miles across, then there's also diaries from 30 years which you scanned and uploaded, which also has important insights into some aspects that sometimes are not clear from the root text. So all in all, about my guess would be the core portion is about 3,000 pages, 3,500, and maybe the supplementary one is really interested and persists, then another 3,000 pages. Not very much. And about 600 hours of audio. It's not very vast compared to other. I was sharing, right? When I went to Sringeri, there was a board that said Advaita Shodha Kendra. So I went inside. That room was 4 times the size of this hall. There were rows of shelves and it was stacked with books. Not possible to digest in one lifetime. Very difficult. We try to condense, I've tried to make a compilation of the the essential subjects from the literature itself in about 350 pages. I just finished it a few months ago. It's like a comprehensive overview of all the fundamental topics that are covered in the darshan. Okay, so we'll proceed. So what I was thinking is that since today is day 9, and this what we started with saying, this is called Manvyata Pun Acharan. All right, humane conduct. Basically, what it entails is just like every other entity, let's say on this planet or in existence, has a definite conduct. What is the definite conduct for me as a human being? And in order to be able to do that, we had to do 2 things. One is identify who I am. Secondly, what exists, which is astitva or existence. And based on this study, decide or understand how I am supposed to live. Sound still coming? Okay. So we started with, we really started with what was called ethics or niyam. We saw 3 niyams: Bauddhik niyam, Prakritik niyam, and Samajik niyam. If you want to just take a small rewind, small step back, because it's been 9 days. So what I thought was today I'll cover a little bit about, we can cover together a little bit about living in family. Okay, we've seen some of the 2 or 3 foundational values. We'll take affection, which is the third one. And so the darshan describes what a family is and what a family unit is, why it is essential, and so we'll cover a little bit of that. Okay, the entire human conduct consists of 30 values, and we've covered 2. Okay, so there are another 28, but these are the foundational ones. So I'll give a brief of that on the board because we can't cover. This is an introductory session, so you'll know what we covered and what we didn't cover. So I'm hoping that we can do that by lunchtime. Post lunch, I thought I can give a summary of the of what we've covered so far. All right. In the post lunch session, around about the time when we kind of feel sleepy, just before tea, and after tea, we can take some questions. So that will pretty much leave us wide open for tomorrow morning, the morning session between 9 and lunch, for any subjects that you feel you want to get more detail on amongst the spectrum available. Okay, so one could be education. Somebody mentioned prosperity, and so basically, prosperity essentially entails our relationship with money and what that means. What does that mean psychologically? What does that mean realistically? Okay, and what is our relationship with matter as human beings, um, existentially? For instance, if we think of a time when there was no money in circulation, human beings still needed goods. Yeah, we traded in goods, and we it was very clear that we didn't produce everything that we needed as an individual or family or a village or a region. So, and that's how trade developed. Yeah, and then when trade developed, you needed a medium for exchange, but you could not carry the goods all the time. So then you have precious metals, and then you had coins, and then you had coins without inherent value. At one point in time, let's say a 5 rupee coin will have the metal that is needed to give you 5 rupees of value. But then slowly money started getting abstracted. So the inherent value was taken away from the medium of exchange, and what remained was just the promise that you have 5 rupees. I promise to pay the bearer the sum of 100 rupees. RBI governor ka. So we can take that as a topic, because we'll say, okay, all this is fine. I've understood space, and but I still need money. My daily issue also. So we can. So it does seem fine. Today, first half, we'll cover uh, affection and some of the aspects of living in a family. What family means, what the family life cycle is. In that, we have 7 relationships. We can take any 2 and discuss them. It could be a husband and wife, it could be a parent relationship, it could be a brother's relationship, and discuss that. Okay, I'll anyway share the PPT with you, so you will anyways get all the other information. Within about 10 days of reaching Pune, I will also share with you the entire book that really is kind of describes this entire thing. It's in English, so you can read it. Just take a printout at home and you can read it. Yeah. Does that sound okay? So today we do that in the first half. Second half, I'll summarize. All right, and talk of the not just a summary of the darshan, but also what where it came from, etc. And then tomorrow up to lunch, we take open questions on education, maybe prosperity, anything that we want to talk of, banking system, production systems. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, so there will be some aspects, some topics that will be theoretical in nature, of which you cannot do anything. For example, we can sit together and think of a great banking system that is not exploitative. It's not you can't do anything about it outside. It is just for bauddhik tripti. But so there can be those kind of topics as well. So tomorrow, first half, we do that, and then tomorrow, post lunch session, we can just have one session and break off at 5. So I think that because those who want to leave will start leaving, and we do have a train to catch at quarter to 11 in the night. And I will so in the post lunch session tomorrow, I can just cover the next steps. So post lunch, what are the times that everybody is leaving? Or how many people are leaving before lunch tomorrow? 1, 2, 3, 4. You're leaving before lunch. How many people are leaving after lunch but before evening? After lunch, what time? 11 o'clock. Ours is also 11 o'clock. Yours? We have the same train. Night 11 o'clock. हमारा भी night 10:45 है. So we'll go together. Night 10 o'clock. आपका? 8:30. 8:15. Good. So we can do the session after lunch then also. Okay. And the rest of you can just watch the recording at home. That really will be the next steps and how we can take it forward. I mean, if you wish to. All right. I will. Yeah. Towards the end of the day, I'll also cover the intent of the Jivanvidya workshop, so that when you go and attend some other workshop, you'll know how it will be different and why it is different. Okay, so there's no mystery around it. Fine. So really coming back to this, how did we really get here? First day, first show, we started with the fact that we have 4 dimensions of living: the material, behavioral, intellectual, and spiritual dimension. I have enquiries in all these 4 dimensions. I have problems in all these 4 dimensions. I have beliefs in all these 4 dimensions, and there is a solution in all these 4 dimensions. Yeah. So my state of being, of what I call as happiness or contentment, which is santosh, or peace, which is shanti. No, that's a reminder for me to do something. I just reminding me. I'll see it later. Yeah. So this is one area of my experience, like the lovely idli we had this morning and the sambar. It is one aspect of my experience, and it gives me one kind of fulfillment, which is tied with the health of the body. If we are not healthy, you cannot enjoy the idli. My ability to enjoy anything through the senses is directly dependent on the condition of the body, right? So we had to study this. So we said we'll also study behavior, because I am also impacted by things people say, by what happens in society and what I tell people, and the way I see society. I am also impacted with my inner state of being, which is my bodhik avastha, the thoughts that I get, the curiosities that I get, the unanswered questions, really the argument you can have with somebody who does not subscribe to your point of view, and so on. And all of us hold beliefs of who we are and where we came from, which is really what the spiritual or adhyatmika dimension really covers. Okay, so in Sanskrit, this is bhautik, vyavaharik, bauddhic, and adhyatmic. And really, one of the key findings in this darshan is that these four are not separable, as we can attest through via self-examination. So, in our attempt to understand the answers in all of this, we found out, or we came to the inference, that we will first understand myself. That's what we did. We then will understand where we came from and how everything else is. So we understood existence. We are now understanding living. So we are understanding my relationship with other humans, to which we began, I think, yesterday morning with the discussion on trust. Yeah, clear. That's how we got to where we are, and really we saw that when we see other people, we actually don't see them. We see some image we have of them inside us, or we see their form, which is their rupa, or their properties of what they did with us in the recent past, up to 800 years ago. You see how human memory works? In this country, we're living with the pain that somebody came 700 years ago and changed everything. And those people are gone. Those buildings are gone, but the pain persists based on their quality. But what do you think? The people who came and raided the country for 400 years, do you trust them? Huh? Okay, so that's where really serious self-interrogation or self-reflection helps, and we'll see that the Jivan is the same. Anybody that came 400 years ago and uprooted the Somnath temple had the same Jivan. And did they have these 4 dimensions? Did they also want to be satisfied in these 4 dimensions? Yes. What was their assumption? Their assumption was the material will give me happiness. And his belief is something I don't want to see. So he had that kind of belief, he or a set of people. So really, when we start examining our relationships with the acknowledgement, or with the understanding that there is a self, that the other human is also in the form of a Jivan, okay, no matter who it is, and that each one of them have Roop, Gun, Swabhav, and Dharma, which is form, properties, basic desire, and Dharma. Dharma is called religion here, or order. We see that we've been looking at the first two, appearance and properties. I look at what you did to me to decide how you are as a person, whereas both are under the domain of qualities, not that is not his or her fundamental desire. Okay, so then we saw trust and respect. So we've seen two things so far. What does trust mean? Basically, being assured about other humans, all humans, and then on a daily basis, my relatives and friends. Because it's hard to be assured about all mankind. And we did a small exercise. You remember? We still have the exercise on the board here. Okay, we were each clear about our basic desire, but we had doubts about the other person's basic desire because of how they look or how they behave. And the same thing is happening to the other person. The other person who's coming and reading Somnath is clear about his basic desire, but is unclear about your basic desire because he's looking at how you believe and how you worship, and he said that is wrong. And we're doing the same thing. Only the ways in which you're going about it is different. Fundamentally, we're the same. We're making the same mistake, he's making the same mistake. No difference. Okay? Fundamentally. Some people will not like hearing that, but it is what it is. So, number one, assurance, this is trust. Okay, so trust, as you can see, is a very basic fundamental value of who we are as human beings that really determines how we see human beings. And when I don't have trust, it causes conflict within. All right. The second is, am I able to see the other human being as an equal, which was respect or samman, which we saw yesterday. All right. Now, if we are assured about somebody and we are able to see them as equal, do we like them? Or we don't like them, and that is the bhava of sneh or affection. I am assured about you, but I don't care about you. I respect you, but I don't like you. So, do we like people? And when do we feel more fulfilled? When we like somebody, when we have affection, or when we don't have affection? When we have affection. Even if I don't like you, it is only when I feel affection for you that my own well being is ensured. Otherwise, there's no tripti, there's conflict. Okay? And because I want to be fulfilled, I have no choice but to like you. So, despite all your failings, yeah, despite the fact that you believe differently from me, you don't listen to me, and you're a horrible person, but I still have to like you. And this is an existential lock. Too bad. So, in our darshan circles, we joke कि जो engineer आता है ना इसमें, the guys who come with an engineering background, they're very kicked about this Astitva Darshan because they can talk about space and compare it to the quantum physics. Yeah? And then a little bit of consciousness, mind-body problem, heart problem of consciousness, बहुत मजा आता है. And then they're a little kicked also about the self because they're very intrigued. I have Chitran. This Acharan, they don't want to do, they don't care. But this forces you to do this Manvita Punacharan. So this is like an existential pressure cooker. I don't want to live with this guy, but this existence is not letting me do that. Because every time I try to do that, it gives me a kick of unhappiness. So now you have to come back and, like the guy. You get kicked. And really that kick, what is that kick? It is that stamp, that ISI stamp of Nyaya Dharma Satya in my Chitran. And you cannot throw it out. I have to know the truth. I have to live in order, and I have to learn to live with people. These three are existential locks. This is ISI mark 9001. You can't do anything. I cannot run away from this. Yeah. So liking humans. So what is affection? Affection is defined as a feeling of the lack of opposition in relationship. The paribhasha in Hindi is very beautiful. न्यायपूर्ण व्यवहार में निर्विरोधिता. निर्विरोध, विरोध का मतलब क्या है? ऑपोजिशन. आप विरोधी हो गए ना, यू आर माई एनिमी. न्यायपूर्ण व्यवहार में निर्विरोधिता. So it is an opposite definition. Okay, so it is a feeling of the lack of opposition in relationship. So when does affection come? Affection comes when I am able to see or recognize that both of us wish goodness for each other and both of us are similar at a fundamental level. At a peripheral level, of course, there are going to be all these problems. We don't know whether to trust somebody, they're not likable, but at a fundamental level, we're all the same. When I have affection, it means I have come to realize and recognize that I am related to you as a human being because we are both in space, we are both in the void, and the void is transparent. And you affect me and I affect you. Can't help it, cannot run away. Can't run away from emptiness. Even if I go to the International Space Station, I'm carrying you with me. So I have to figure out what to do with you. So this sentiment of what is called as warmth or tenderness is really called affection. Okay. And we feel this on a daily basis with the people we live. It is one thing to say, I love all of humanity, but this mulya is really experienced on a daily basis with the people you exist, not with the people we don't see. With them, we already know, okay, I too wish them well, and I put them to one side. But then when I see my child, my friend, the people I recognize on a daily basis is where we live and experience the feeling of affection. And that is an important source for my tripti, for my fulfillment. Okay? It is as important as the bodhic vikas that I'm doing. Is loud. And and as important as the, yeah, as important or more important than the taste I get from the food. What persists more, the taste from food or the feeling of affection with the people I'm having food? What is longer, the taste of the food or the feeling that I have with the people I'm having food with? This is bigger. So there's a nice line in the darshan. It says, Bhautik Sukh Kshanik. The happiness from material things is kshanik, it's temporary. Then it says, Bauddhik Sukh Dirghakalin. That comes from behavior and intellect is Dirghakalin, lasts for a long time. तथा आध्यात्मिक सुख नित्य एवं निरंतर है. द ठीक है. Shall we not? एक इंग्लिश में लाइन आता है ना, टू बी और नॉट टू बी, दैट इज अ क्वेश्चन, है ना. The question is, you're already, we're already there, we can't help it. How to be is the question. Not to be or not to be. एक रेनी डेकार्टी बोल के एक फ्रेंच फिलोसोफर हुआ था. He wrote a line saying, I think, therefore I am. People wondered whether they were not there. Especially in the Buddhist tradition in our country, they postulated that because everything is in flux, there is no inherent value to anything. So it says all things are devoid of inherent dhamma, basically dharma, existence. And if you look at it from this darshan's point of view, it basically says you are, you think, and you do many other things besides thinking. Not just think. You are, you think, you behave, you taste, and you experience, and you know. Itna hai. And they're all inseparable. When we were in Hyderabad once, there was a guy who was arguing with the guy who was teaching it, and he said, the analogy that they give is, how do you know you think? Okay. देखो आर्ग्यूमेंट आदमी लॉजिकली कहाँ तक गया ना. इट्स अमेजिंग. इट्स कॉल्ड डायलेक्टिक और तर्का. So the analogy that is given is, when you open a refrigerator, you can see there is light inside. Okay, but in order to see whether there is light inside, you have to open the door. How do you know that the light is there before opening the door? How do you know that thinking is there before you try to see it? Because in trying to see thought, you need another thought. So the answer that the facilitator gave was, the answer is very simple. वो लड़का पूछा क्या? He said, what if you're sitting inside the refrigerator? So, so harboring feelings of aversion, harboring, to persist with feelings of not liking someone is not acceptable to me. Although I may be helpless, it's a state that I want to get out of. In fact, one of the issues today is we're not able to recognize at that instant or during those durations that this is something I don't want. अभी उल्टा belief होता है ना. We believe कि this aversion is something I want to maintain, and that becomes the source of my happiness. But there is no end to it, because there is no end to hating anybody. There was one guy that Nagarajji met who was a dacoit in the Chambal region, and he met him in Uttar Pradesh, and he had given up dacoity. So when Nagarajji met him, he said, why did you give up dacoity? He said, मैं दो type से मारा लोगों को. I killed people from two intentions. There were those set of people who I killed, who were coming in the way of what I wanted to get. If he wants to rob a bank, you come in the middle, he'll shoot you because you're coming in the way. And he said the other set of people are the ones that I killed, are the ones that I didn't like, जिसको मेरे से problem था. तो कैसे बदला लो, उसका मार दो. He said, one day I realized that when he was killing somebody that he didn't like, he said, इसके मरने के बाद भी मुझे तृप्ति नहीं हो रही है. I am not getting satisfied even after this guy dies because he persists inside me. मैंने इसको खत्म कर दिया, उसके बाद भी I am not satisfied with the feeling of aversion. So if you're able to see that there is no end to aversion, we can take a psychological decision. I make a psychological choice saying I want to get rid of this because it is not my swabhava. So what the darshan really helps us do is not just give us these psychological tools to be able to manage pain, but really talk of what is that fundamental reality, that tatvikta, yeah, the absence of which is creating that problem. Okay. And so affection really means having that feeling of warmth unconditionally. How many of us feel affectionate towards a small child? How many of us feel that affection will persist even if after it has become 30 years old? No. And why? Huh? Because we know it is helpless, so you feel you have to protect it. Also, it doesn't judge you. You finally have somebody that I'm not judging and it is not judging me. Why? Because we feel it is innocent and pure. So if I'm able to see that this innocence and purity exists in a person, irrespective of their beliefs, irrespective of the other layers that they develop as they grow old, then I have a possibility of having that feeling. If, है ना? Otherwise, the problem persists. Okay, so really this unconditionality is what we seek as human beings, and the people around us seek as well. आ गया अंदर. बनी बनी दटोपा दटोपा इले बनी 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 बा. So when we have affection, you can see towards the right, it says commitment or nishtha. So when we have the feeling of affection, we don't let go of the relationship. We are committed towards it. Like these parents are committed towards that child, no matter what it does, how it disturbs them, when it disturbs them, how much it disturbs them. Uske baad bhi they keep taking care of it. That's called commitment or nishtha. And even so, that affection is not gone off. Jata nahi hai. Any questions on affection? Any questions, any suggestions, any opposition to affection? You can also have an opposition to affection saying, I don't want to be affectionate. Huh? No. Raga in affection would be called moha. Moh, infatuation. So affection is different from infatuation. In infatuation is a form of affection which we call as samavesh. Okay? Where you are overdoing the affection. So how does one distinguish between moha and sneha, right? Between affection and infatuation really is that when we are infatuated, we don't see what is wrong with the person. We are not able to see their errors. We see them and we feel their errors are also fine. Blinding. So in some ways, moha or infatuation can be seen as a beginning of affection, but it is contorted. It's that which is going to create a problem. Like, for instance, the mother has an attachment towards a child and she's very affectionate towards it because, really it's come out of her. I mean, it's her womb converted, like I said, that pani puri, masal puri into the, lungs and the kidney. So, yeah, the conversion into the flesh has happened inside of me. But if the mother holds on to that attachment, even when the child has grown up, then what happens? जैसे शादी होने के बाद will the mother have to let go or not let go? Let go. So if it's infatuation, the mother will not be able to let go. पकड़ के रखी रहती है बेटे को. India may, because in the West, in Europe, uh, it's more of an individualistic society, so they are willing to let go even when you're 16 or 18. I know of two people who could never get married because their mothers were so possessive about them that whenever a girl came for marriage, they would she would pick up some flaw in them and never let the marriage happen. खुद के बेटे को she didn't let the marriage happen because she was afraid that she will lose the son. Finally वो आधा पागल हो गया. मेरा ही cousin is a merit list holder in class 10, state merit list holder. Very brilliant guy. Mother didn't let him marry. छोड़ा ही नहीं. So infatuation. So where in the Jivan Kriya is infatuation? In the man. Where is affection? Also in the man. So what is the difference between the two? When you have infatuation, in the Chitran, in the Ichcha, there is this over dependence on it. That is Raga. So if you recollect, we studied six, you won't recollect because we've done so much, it's hard to recollect. Yeah, we won't recollect. But really it is there in the slide. When you go back to the activities in the cell, there is a slide that says Shad Vikar, 6 excitements. Okay, 3 of the form of Raga, 3 are of the form of Dvesha. So there are 3 Raga. There is Moha, Lobh and Kam. Moha is my attraction towards the mind of another person. Lobha is my attraction towards your belongings, and Kama is my attraction towards your body. Okay, these are called akarshanatmak, ones that are attractive. So that is rag. And there are 3 of the nature of dvesha. So what are the ones that are dvesh? The first one is called mad or mada. Yeah? So mad really means not obstinacy. There's a nice word in English for it that I'm forgetting now. Whatever. Okay. Then you have mad, then you have matsarya, where I have hatred towards you. In moha, I have affliction. In matsarya, I have dvesha. And there is krodh. So mad, matsarya, and krodh are the 3 repulsive. So there are 3 avesh. 3 are attractive, 3 are repulsive. The attractive ones feel nice, the repulsive ones I don't like. But both are a problem. Because over calm is also a problem, over moha is also a problem, over lobh is also a problem. And lobh acts in so many ways, right? Like, I mean, when we go to a wedding and there is a buffet, we tend to load all that stuff onto our plate, irrespective of our bank balance. I may be a करोड़पति, but 2 रसगुल्ला, 1 रसमलाई, 1 गुलाब जामुन जैसे कि कहीं भागे जा रहा है. And that plate would become so heavy. I'll always taunt my mother when she eats we don't go to weddings anymore when we used to grow up. So you would stand in the buffet and she would fill everything. So there'll be the starter, there'll be the chaat, there'll be that, main course, there'll be the 2 sabji, there'll be dal, there'll be rice, and there'll be all the sweet. I'll say, Amma has become so heavy, you need a crane to lift it now, Why don't you do it in 2 or 3? Where is it running away? They're feeding 1,000 people, you'll get your food. आदमी को लगता खत्म हो जाएगा. There's a fear that the rasmalai will be over when I come back, so I might as well take it now. That is lobh. Irrespective of my bank balance. उस समय लोभ क्या है? मैं रसमलाई हूं. You see, मैं शरीर नहीं हूं, मैं रसमलाई हूं. You were saying something. Sunil ji, आप कह रहे थे.
Yeah, so
it's on.
So when we see that feeling of non-affection or dislike or hatred is prominent in someone, what could be the root cause and how it can be resolved?
No, root cause in one line, if you say existentially, it is called Brahm. Manyata. Ajagrati. Okay. One step lower, if you see, it means that in their chitran, in their chit, there is some aspect of us that has gone into the apriya, aliking, non-liking evaluation in the vritti. And it has happened so strongly or so consistently. So, for instance, let's say I meet you, we become neighbors. Okay, the first day is really fine. I may see you, I may be a little whatever. Now, the second day, you demonstrate some behavior that I don't like. The third day, that behavior persists, and then the fourth day it persists, and the fifth, and the sixth, and the seventh, and the 10th, and the 28th day, and the 365th day. What happens by 365 days? ये जो अप्रिय वाला मेरे अंदर जो मूल्यांकन हुआ, that is strengthening this image inside me that you are like this, and every time it feeds, right? It's getting fed that I don't like you for whatever XYZ reason. You don't put the garbage out properly, let us say. That is dvesha, and that's why it happens in that person. That really that disliking of some aspect of my behavior. Okay, sometimes even of the root. If you're racist, you have a Chinese neighbor, people you will have a problem with it. Like in the US, they don't want Chinese neighbors. So that's द्वेष. रूप और गुण के आधार पर अप्रिय मूल्यांकन द्वेष को पैदा करता है. उसका उत्तर क्या है, समाधान क्या है? स्वभाव और धर्म के आधार पर मूल्यांकन करना. वो कैसे आएगा? स्वभाव और धर्म का अध्ययन करना पड़ेगा. अध्ययन का मतलब क्या है? स्वभाव धर्म क्या है उसको समझना पड़ेगा. तो मेरा स्वभाव धर्म क्या है, अस्तित्व में स्वभाव धर्म क्या है, संबंध में स्वभाव धर्म क्या है, उसी को कर रहे. वो कहां से शुरू होगा? उसको सुनना पड़ेगा. टू लिसन टू, रिफ्लेक्ट ऑन इट, स्टडी इट. सो रियली, in many ways, what the darshan is saying is very significant. It's saying that all the images that we've loaded, remember we said it is either Bhranti Darshana or it is Apurna Darshana. It is either incomplete or it is Bhranti. So that is a form of Bhranti. So we have to go from Bhranti to Nirbhranti. That's the journey. It's the 9th. We are going towards the end of the session, so I'll slowly start putting in the darshan terminology, which we avoided till yesterday. The heavy sounding words. So there are words like this if you choose to study it.
I know that I have errors.
Yeah.
I know that the person I live with also have errors.
Yeah.
That is why, because of the clash of these errors, the more or less the affection problem happening.
Yeah.
I know it. But why it is not naturally? I am accepting me as a human being, right? I know I am incomplete. I know I cannot control my emotions, feelings. The same person is also similar or somewhere here or the difference will be there. But I am not able to accept that fact, and I am not showing the same affection, the same intense affection to that person. Why so? There also I have to put the same method of study. I have to examine. I have to do that. Like that only we can naturally develop that.
The basic reason for that basically lies in the region that is called the chitran or visualizing, which is in the chit and the paravartan kriya. So really what is happening is my emotion towards a person is actually a strong chitran in me of how I am related to that person. Okay, because so it's, for instance, let us say it's my grandmother. So I'm just taking the example of my grandmother because I was very fond of her. I never ever got angry with her. Okay, and she would get angry with me and I would laugh. My grandmother did get angry with me, but I would laugh. I never felt bad when my grandmother got angry. Never. She's no more. When I see my grandmother, what's happening? There are no words and sentences. That feeling itself is a chitran, that bhav of how I see her. Okay. Now, when I say that I have information, I know that I'm supposed to behave with my grandmother in this way. The second, this is C1, chitran C1. Let's just call it C1, okay? Or V1, visual 1, or emotion 1, E1. I have information that I am supposed to be so and so in this relationship. That is information, that is language, that is I1. Maybe I'll write it. Yeah, so it gives us some time to pause. And just to be clear, you're asking the inquiry and me giving the answer is not going to solve the problem. The inquiries that we are putting forth during the introductory workshop and the answers you're getting is to give you the indication that the answers can be possible and you have to strive for them. You'll have to go through that. Maybe there is some clarity we will get. All of us will take back something from the session. So I will also cover that, the goals as well as the limitation of the introductory workshop. Okay. So I have this Chitran Kriya in me. We said it is visualizing. Okay. These Chitran put together is my desire. That is really my desire. Yeah. So when I like somebody, I desire them. When I don't like somebody, I'm not desiring them. Period. Like I desire my dog, I don't desire my neighbor's dog. Yeah. So in this Chitran, what happens is how I have evaluated plus experienced that person so far gives rise to this Chitran C1. So I've evaluated Priya hai, Apriya hai, Labh hai, Alabh hai. Na? There were 6 drishtis for evaluation. Nyay, Anyay. So in relationship, it will go only up to Nyay, Anyay. Dharma, Adharma, Satya. Satya evaluation is not applicable there. Now I have experienced it. I have multiple such evaluations. So I have C1. I have information as language and logic that I should not be doing this. And this is C2. When during Vyavhar Kal, during behavior, what gets activated is this. This stays as information. Okay. For instance, now we have information and logic. What did we say? We said this happened, this is happening in the Chitran. But you know what? You're doing this is happening because you're evaluating on the basis of Roop and Gun. You have to evaluate it on the basis of Swabhav and Dharma. This is the information we got now. But this in itself is not going to be sufficient. This becomes now a vague acceptance in me. I now have to take this, reflect on it, and make it strong enough, make it bigger than this one. This is called Adhyan and Abhyas. Isko Adhyan karke, I have to make it bigger. So this will be the master Chitran under which this will sublimate. Only then it will go. Till then, they will remain parallel. So the more you reflect on this, this will start becoming stronger and stronger till both become stronger, and then there will be a conflict. You will struggle. This will happen as you go through this process. There's no other way. Either we stay in the muck, okay, or we start looking at how to get out of the muck, study it, and then try and imbibe it, accept it. So if you remember, the 3 stages that we spoke of was information, acceptance, and knowledge. So I start with information, I change it to acceptance, and then it becomes knowledge. Once it becomes knowledge, it's permanent. Then this sublimates in that. Sublimation theory. Till then, this tussle will happen. I will end up do it and I'll go back and say, kya yaar, this is the 3rd time you're doing the same mistake. This internal dialogue will happen. You can't get out of it. So for that, one will have to study the integral view of all of it, because now this is not separated. I cannot study relationship in isolation. I have to place myself in the center. I have to place the other self in the center, and I have to be able to place existence in the background, because all this is happening in existence. What happens when we have the interpersonal problem really is that we are experiencing, it's like a tunneling effect. Everything else gets shut off. That's what happens, right? I mean, all of us have experienced it, including me, all of us. When we have a problem with somebody, it becomes a tunneling effect. Everything else is shut off. We forget the fact that space is there, it is reflective, and nature is in harmony, and I want to be harmony. Everything goes out the window. I want to finish this guy, and that is my goal of life. That's a tunneling effect. He or she is the cause of all my misery. And a yamdut ban jata hai ek aadmi. And that's a tunneling effect. And that's how, if you ask why that happens, well, the Chitran, the other images are not developed enough. Actually, that's what happened. That's why Indians are breaking the signal on the road. That is why Indians are breaking the signal on the road. In the material dimension, if you talk of civic sense, everybody in India knows you should not break the signal. Why do they break it? Because the image of breaking the signal is bigger than the image of not breaking the signal. What will happen in Europe? Together, in their collective consciousness for 99%, except for the immigrants. The image that I should not break the signal is persistent enough. So he cannot think as, मतलब उसके मन में ऑप्शन ही नहीं आता कि मैं सिग्नल तोड़ूं. इधर क्या है, this guy is waiting for one corner from where he can escape uncaught. They'll all be looking like this. Zurr, zurr. It's chaos. Complete spiritual chaos. सही बात है. India has chaos on the road and spiritually. Spirituality में भी chaos है. Complete chaos.
I can share one incident.
हाँ?
I can share one incident.
पुणे में, पूना किधर? यही भारत नहीं है, इसी का नाम भारत है. अलग से किधर है पूना? हॉरिबल है पूना में. पूना से भी नीचे यदि कोई जगह है तो हैदराबाद है. वाह, हैदराबाद ट्रैफिक इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट. पूना में टू व्हीलर, राजकोट इज ऑल्सो रैंडम. And Rajkot mein they'll be spitting also like missiles. Zoom, 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 zoom. It'll be spitting also. So you have to dodge the traffic as well as that spit. You have to be driving like this. मैंने देखा अभी.
I came across a person who had India से बाहर गया है. उसको वहाँ लाइसेंस मिलने में 3 साल लगी है.
3 साल लगे.
3 साल लगी है. इतनी मिस्टेक हुई है. वो मिस्टेक हर एक जगह में आइडेंटिफाई हुई है. फिर भी ये मानने के लिए तैयार नहीं. वो अभी बोल रहे वो मुझे लाइसेंस नहीं दे रहा. वो खुद बोलता है. तो वहाँ इतनी रूल्स है, 90 रूल्स है, वो फॉलो करना है. 90 में एक ब्रेक करिए तो मुझे लाइसेंस नहीं मिलेगा. इसको मिलने में 3 साल लगे.
शॉर्टकट.
फिर भी इसको नहीं लग रहा कि मैंने गलती किया है. वो नहीं ले दे रहे.
You know, in our community, they do something called, it's called Bharanyasam. So my parents went and got it done. हमारे जो मठाधीश है ना, he comes, he stays in a place called Ahobilam in Andhra Pradesh. I mean, he stays in Srirangam, but basically that's the mutt. So they'd come to Pune, and this is few years ago. So my parents went and got themselves stamped. Basically, ISI mark idhar lagta hai. You get a shank and you get a chakra here, right? I too got one. I mean, it's faded. Yeah, and it's gone. It's made in silver, so they heat it and they brand you. I felt like a horse that day. I came and told my pastor, what are you doing with me? You know? So I asked my dad, so what's the deal? I mean, what's going to happen? He said, "Bas, no more rebirth. Seedha will get moksha." I said, "Boss, तुम्हारे lineage में कौन ये rule बनाया पहले बताओ?" He told the name of the person. I said, "Appa, भयंकर fraud. This is duplicacy, not fair. तू इडली वड़ा सांभर दबाएगा, स्टैंप मारेगा और सीधा मोक्ष होगा. ऐसा तो होगा नहीं बॉस. बाकी लोग पागल है क्या?" You'll say that IR is bad. I don't believe in Shiva. Get yourself stamp, go to moksha. और मतलब फर्जी, complete फर्जी. Spiritual फर्जी buddy. So they told me, you get it stamped. I said, I'm not getting it stamped. Because thing is, if you stamp, you have to follow many things. You can't eat, kanda lasoon. You can't have water from the tap. Misery hai, Rahul. It's very difficult to live like that in today's world. You have to go looking for a well to drink water. So, yeah, so that's really affection, and that's the reason it seems that we feel it towards children. Also, because you see, with children, this image is not like this. But as the child starts growing up, our evaluation starts. This is wrong with it, this is wrong with it, this is wrong with it. Now this starts changing color. This unconditionality that I had, which was blank because it's a child, as we start seeing the problems in the child, this C1 starts distorting. Now I see that child through this distorted image, because I see the distortion in the child. And I'm not saying the distortion doesn't exist. It exists, which is why you can see it. I mean, it's possible we are completely biased, but it's not that people don't have flaws. They have it. what we don't see, or we're unable to see, because we don't have that study or adhyan or that depth of seeing, which is what we'll have to do, is really do two things. One is load what is the correct image with information and logic. That is called shravan, okay, listening. And the second is I have to do what is called as chintan, okay, which is on the left. I have to see what is the real swabhav and dharma of that child. And I find that the real swabhav and dharma is that it wants affection. That its flaws are actually with the way it is doing mulyankan, it is doing tulan, and it is doing chitran. So I am, through the area of me that is in flux, I am evaluating the area of the other person that is also in flux. And hence we are all in flux. So if we are able to keep the image, the stable understanding, that aspect of reality that is unchanging. Remember we said we want to understand the fundamental aspects of myself and existence and reality. And if that settles in, and that settling in is going to take time, it's a gradual process and we won't get into that, then this slowly, starts subsiding. We knew somebody in Pune who used to come to attend these sessions. And once I was eating, he was from Uttar Pradesh, from Roorkee. And he said, I have a confession to make. I said, what? He said, in all the years that I've known you, I hate the way you eat. I said, oh. I said, why? Because, kaisa khate ho tum? I said, that's the only way I know how to eat, because that's how my parents ate. And we've been doing it for 1500 years. Not today and tomorrow. Purana parampara. Because he would eat roti. When he eats roti sabji, his fingers would get, till the sambar doesn't reach here, there is no satisfaction. It has to go to the Atma and come back, right? Then otherwise he'll not. So there are these spectrum of things that we have in us. He would also say that whenever he flew, and if people of a particular faith, religion sat next to him, that flight would be hell for him. And once he had to endure a guy like that who had a cab for 8 hours all the way to Germany. And he said that was the worst flight I've ever had. वो बेचारा कुछ कर भी नहीं रहा था ना, he was just flying. This guy had a problem with him. So really dveshas because of this apriya mulyankan that we do. The value before this is saman, and we are not able to see somebody is equal because we evaluate them for less than who they are. That's apman. Avishwas is when I don't know who they are. I have no clue. So I have to have a clue of who people are. I have to know the fact that they're equal to me. And also, see that they are similar to me at the fundamental. Otherwise, there's no way. Okay. That's the exercise. That's not a normal thing. I do not अध्ययन करने से यही अध्ययन है. अध्ययन का एक भाग है भाषा, अर्थ, तर्क. दूसरा है उसको भावों में परिवर्तित करना. वही अध्ययन है. Let's do this exercise. A1, me and the other. I do not desire to commit mistakes. True, false? A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3. I do not desire to commit mistakes. True? I commit mistakes unknowingly, by mistake. When I make a mistake, correct me, but gently. हड़काओ मत, idiot, बेवकूफ, है ना, 10 बार बोला. Once my father told me when he was young, and I was young, and I made a mistake and kuch to ho gaya. He said, instead of giving birth to you, I should have given birth to a jhadu. It would have been useful at least for cleaning the room. You're useless. I said, यार ये कितना क्या है झाड़ू, मतलब मैं झाड़ू भी नहीं हूँ, है ना? यार ज्यादा हो गया. Because he would ask me to do something and I'd keep forgetting. He got very frustrated. है ना? तो ठीक है, I made a mistake of झाड़ू. Only a झाड़ू can give birth to झाड़ू, उसका धर्म है. Jhadus don't live, so they cannot give birth. That's another problem. Jhadu can be accumulated. So, in Tamil, it's called Thodapakatta. Thodapakatta. It's not even the full Jhadu. It is that one that's used in the bathroom. जो खराटा झाड़ू है, that's the one he compared me with. Full झाड़ू तो फिर भी थोड़ा soft है, looks a little, you know, likable. बाथरूम में रखा रहता ना, with the coconut वाला, that one. The other human being, my mother-in-law, does not desire to commit mistakes. True or false? My mother-in-law does not desire to commit mistakes. True? My mother-in-law commits mistakes unknowingly, by mistake. When my mother-in-law commits a mistake, correct her gently or hang her? Correct her gently. Why? Because that's what I expect. So for me, I have a set of rules that I want. But if you make a mistake, I will shoot you. So when I shoot, banish from the house, basically tell your husband either she will stay or I will stay. दोनों में से एक decide करो. घर से बाहर रह के भी कंट्रोल करते हैं. We should have a special sessions only for mother-in-laws in Dharwad. In the invitation, only mother-in-laws are invited for this 7-day session. We won't talk of Astitva, Darshan, Vyapak, nothing. We'll only talk of this. One of my friends got married. Friends, classmates got married. Some state, because I don't want to keep, for some reason I have the examples from one or two states. And when his wife got married, apparently this guy's wife, she said, she came in the evening, she sat in the house and she demanded that you have to bifurcate the house. Vibhajan karo. I don't want to leave the mother-in-law. The evening of the marriage. So this guy said, you just got married today. Just wait. She said, no, if you don't build a wall here, I will not eat. Oh, bad guy. True story. This guy called me and told me entire details. So then she refused to budge. Right? And she starts crying. She said, if you don't build the wall, I will not stay in this house. So they called her parents. They came at night 9 o'clock. They tried to convince her. They refused. 12 baje they had to get a mason, bring the cement, bring the bricks. वो सब load होने के बाद वो सोई. अगले दिन she ensured that the wall was built and उसके बाद she stayed. अच्छी निश्चित दूरी है ना. You protect yourself before the damage starts. Just seal yourself off. There will be nothing flowing from the other side. So when it comes to us on how I would like to be treated, I employ a different yardstick. So what is this? This is an example of when I'm evaluating myself, I'm using a priya drishti. I like me, so you be careful with me. When I'm evaluating the other person, you, I employ a apriya drishti, the disliking drishti. ये समझ में आता है? मुझे A1, A2, A3 प्रिय है, B1, B2, B3 अप्रिय है. उसका भी वैसे ही है. So now there is no game. It's impossible.
We have speak about affection between humans or living beings. Maybe I am affectionate with the tree, the plant which I planted, it became, I have an affection, or a pet, or my mother, my wife, whatever, whoever. It's all human beings or a life. How about our affection with our nation, the language? We know the language is a sound. I am making a sound in a particular tune, in a particular order. It is just a sound for the sake of communication. But we are affectionate for that, and we are fighting over that.
So
we cannot make Hindi a national language. Tamil is the oldest. Sanskrit is the Deva Bhasha. Why? Why we have? It's not even a reality. It's just a sound. Why we have affection towards it? Why you are taking pride about that? Am I created Malayalam? No. Who created Malayalam? We don't know. Does my father created it? No. My family created? No. But I am a Malayali. Why? Why that affection? From where it has come? How can I rid of it? Same method of study?
Yeah, identity. So that is to do with identity. So when we're talking of affection, if you recollect, the paribhasha of affection was nyayapurn, feeling of lack of opposition in human relationship. Okay, so that's where the affection is being described. Nyayapurn vyavhar mein nirvirodhita. So nirvirod with humans. Then am I nirvirod with the rest of nature? That is niyam. That is not nyay. So this is called nyay. That is called niyam. Do I hate the tree? Do I hate pigs? Do I hate animals? Okay, so that's the relationship with nature, which is the second part. Okay, when it comes to abstract notions such as nation, okay, language again is still a reality. What happens is then you have the problem of identity in the self. If you recollect, which we do not recollect, it's just a so just a phrase. If you recollect, don't recollect. Um, in the slide that we had about the problems in the self, we spoke about 9 problems. The first one was of identity. All right, and in identity, when we ask the question of who am I, like the book in Tiruvannamalai, it says who am I. Really, this what I identify with is becomes part of my identity. So that includes the nation. So you have these 4 what are called as sanskaras. The first one is namkaran sanskar. So the first identity I have is with my name, and that really happens when we are named when we are about 2 or 3 months old. You'll be surprised that the jivan takes on that identity with that sound, with that sanskara. Okay, the second one is called jati samskara in India. But even otherwise, the jati was actually the karma, right? What kind of occupation does the family do? And that's something it picks up by looking around. Then you have dharma sanskara for those families that believe in religion. And then slowly, as it grows up, there is this identification with the language, with the food habits, with the with the natural way the natural surroundings are. For instance, if I am from from Himachal Pradesh, this place would I will not be able to feel fond of this place. Okay, and then finally with the nation. So this is actually happening because of identifying myself with these images that I have. It happens in the chit, which is why it can be broken. You can snap out of it, and people do snap out of it. I mean, today, because of economic reasons, there's so many people who traveled outside their home state, and they take on, they like that state they are from. They don't like we are from Tamil Nadu, but I have no affinity towards the state. It feels familiar when I go there, but that's all. But it also feels familiar in Maharashtra where I grew up. Yeah. So that's basically due to confusing identities in the chit. So then what is I? The identity. So the I identity without the body is basically the self, just the jivan. We'll pick it up, yeah. From the so all this Chitran Kriya that we examined a bit is really where the entire software for our living is loaded. So one of the slides was titled "We are what we believe," and उसके नीचे लिखा था "As we believe, so we live. As we believe, so we are." If you change the belief, तभी तो धर्म परिवर्तन possible है. If dharma is innate to me, I should not be able to change it. And if it is innate to me, I should never be able to lose it. We say the British came and took away our dharma. It means it was never part of us. If it was part of you, how can you lose it? Like the kidney is inside me, I cannot lose the kidney. It's part and parcel of my being. So, which means it is being stored in a layer that is in flux. And some of them are very, very strong identities. And that happens in the chit. No, you cannot see, but how will you examine? Because to examine that, you need a bigger image. For instance, let us say there were. So, how many of us? And this I'm just asking as a matter of fact. You don't. believed in the existence of some creator day before yesterday? Okay. How many of us believed that this creator had form or has form, gods and goddesses? Okay. Today, how many of us feel that has to be re-examined? I'm not saying it has to be re-examined, but it took us what, 5 hours? You just show a larger picture, the smaller picture sublimates inside it. And we use some logic. God is an energy form. Why? Sakar, Nirakar, okay. Nirmata, for some people it is a creator, for some people it is not a creator, for some people it is a director. You finally find it is void, it's shunya, nothing, can't do anything. You're right here. So when people write a book saying I am that, ऐसा लगता है कि बहुत दूर है ब्रह्मन, इधर है, between me and the laptop. And if you don't get offended, it is occupying the space inside my toilet. अंदर भी है, नाक में भी है, दांत में भी है, ये इसमें भी है. तो किसी का इसीलिए प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी नहीं है. कैसा प्राइवेट करोगे? यू कैन नॉट प्राइवेटाइज स्पेस. वॉइड को कैसा प्राइवेटाइज? यू नो द इंडियन गवर्नमेंट स्पेंड्स एयरवेव्स. पता है ना, ऑक्शन होता है ना स्पेक्ट्रम का, मोबाइल फोन स्पेक्ट्रम का ऑक्शन होता है ना, इतना बैंडविड्थ. एक्चुअली क्या ऑक्शन हो रहा है? नॉट द एयरवेव, the ability to transmit signals in that bandwidth. But व्यापक वस्तु को क्या हम, you cannot exchange it. It's nobody's private property. You cannot buy it and sell it. तो इधर भी है, नाखून में भी है, मेरे पैर के तलवे में भी है, मेरा तलवा उसी में है. Because if it is emptiness, then my foot is already occupying emptiness. That's how you know my foot is, in so much region.
In the larger interest of the or understanding of the Astitva and Chaitanya Ikai, so we now moving towards the understanding that we are selecting that. मतलब जो भी वो जीवन है, तो इस शरीर के बाद दूसरे शरीर.
We are selecting where we have to be born. Yeah.
When we came to know that we have selected it, then why there the aversion? I am this language, I am this body, I am that body.
No, not the aversion. I think what he was alluding to is where does the association come from when it is not, really objective. These are all subjective associations, right? And it forms an important part of who we are. For instance, I was born in a Tamil family, but I grew up in Pune. Now, so half my meals are South Indian. The other half of the meal is Maharashtrian. ठीक है, तो मेरा कुजीन तो गया काम से. आफ्टरनून आई एम तमिलनाडु, नाइट आई एम महाराष्ट्र. When I speak with my parents, I speak in Tamil. When I speak outside, it's in Marathi. If I have to shout at somebody on the road, I have to do it in Hindi. Okay. When I try to understand something, I'm doing it in English. तो खिचड़ी हो गया. I went to Tamil many years ago when I had gone to my village. 2 of my village guys were fighting. I grew up with village boys so one is a carpenter, one is a coolie at a railway station. These are boys I used to play with when I was a child. He's still there. He is an electrician, then he became a coolie. Porter. Railway station में suburban train का porter है वो. And they were fighting and they were abusing each other in Hindi. Hindi का गाली दे रहे थे. It is nice, proper Tamil Nadu, no Hindi allowed there. I said, where did you pick up these Hindi galis from? He said, we don't know. I said, but why do you abuse yourself in Hindi? I mean, you can. In Tamil में करने से ना तृप्ति नहीं मिलता है, satisfaction नहीं मिलता. And the satisfaction varadillaanga. The Hindi, if you have to abuse somebody, Hindi is a superior language. So he was using Hindi to abuse each other. They kept saying Behmani, Behmani. I'm like, that sounds like Beiman, which is an Urdu word. Yeah. And of course, many other things before and after that, which I can't say. But The word Beiman in Urdu went to Tamil Nadu and become Bemani. It's a way to scold somebody. So really, these when we study, so the chit is the one that makes these associations. And Satyaji yesterday was asking what is ahankara. So ahankara is the buddhi, the activity after the chit, which was the second orbit in the jivan, the first orbit in the jivan ikai entity, which kind of grants the feeling of self to the jivan. Okay, and it stays that way until it is able to see the activity before it, which is the central atom, which is the last point of knowing. So till then, it's very interesting. Where is the sense of self coming from? मैं हूँ, I. ये है क्या? When we were talking of the self and the body, I had asked this question, right? That is it the same you that was born? It is, yeah. And so many things have happened. We've grown up, we've grown old, our hair has grown grey, people have come into our lives, have gone away from our lives, we've learnt languages, we've eaten so much, we've spent so much, we've earned so much, but this entity that is experiencing all of this still stays. It is these different associations. I was in this company, then I went to that company. Let's say I've had 3 marriages. I was married to this person, now I'm married to this person, I'm married to this person, I'm having an affair with this person. I ate this, I ate this, I ate this. My body was 5 kilos, 8 kilos, 10 kilos, 140 kilos, 160 kilos, 100 kilos. जितना बाहर का है सब बदल रहा है. But there is something that is experiencing all of this and saying, I am undergoing all of this. Okay? And this has been an age-old question. In our country, in India, because of this, they said, okay, so you cannot be all of that because all that is in flux. And then that led to the interpretation that all of this is separable and this goes into some ultimate reality. That was called moksha, when the Purusha realizes it's not a part of Prakriti. But there is no Ishvara, right, in Sankhya Darshan. There is no Brahman. They don't believe in Brahman. Advaita Vedanta believes in Brahman, but there the Atma goes and sublimates in the Brahman. So now its identity is lost. That has its own problem. So really here what happens is this, it is a buddhi that grants this identity to the Jivan self. And later, after Pratiti, when the buddhi undergoes something called Pratyavartan, when the buddhi is able to see that there is something else before me, for instance, like when we tasted the idli in the morning, there is the idli, there is a tongue, the idli touched the tongue, the taste of the idli is somewhere in the brain, and I got the taste of the idli. Okay? Are you that taste, or did you experience that taste? You're experiencing that taste. Are you able to evaluate that taste? Is the sambar like the sambar I like, or it is not like the sambar I like? So there is something in you that is seeing the taste and also telling me, also declaring whether the sambar is tasteful or not, or different or not. So these are two different kriyas. And now when we are asking the question, there is something that is recollecting that this happened. The entity that is recollecting is a chit. The one that is declaring whether the sambar is tasty or not is a vritti. If it was a resort and you are paying, let us say, I don't know, 10,000 rupees a day, you will go back to the cook and say, this idli, I paid 300 rupees for this breakfast. What kind of idli are you giving me? It has black spots in it. Ye vritti hai. And the entity that is tasting the idli is the man. The idli is going into the stomach. Idli gaya kidhar? ऊपर थोड़ी गया, अंदर गया. जैसे ही it crosses this barrier, the taste is gone. It has become nutrition. From this point on, the idli has become nutrition. Till here, it is taste. And here it is cost. This put together is me. So these four are not separable.
ये क्वेश्चन है. जब हम ये बोलते हैं कि सेल्फ और बॉडी या जीवन सेपरेबल नहीं है, यही
सेल्फ और बॉडी जीवंत मानव में सेपरेबल नहीं है,
हाँ
साथ ही रहता है।
रहते हैं,
मृत्यु के बाद सेपरेट हो जाता है।
सेपरेट हो जाता है।
और एक कंडीशन है जिसमें सेपरेट हो सकता है इन जीवंत मानव, जो हमारे लिए आउट ऑफ स्कोप है इस पर्टिकुलर
ठीक
वर्कशॉप
है,
के लिए।
ठीक। क्वेश्चन ये है कि पॉपुलेशन तो इंक्रीज हो रहा है,
पॉपुलेशन इंक्रीज हो रहा है,
तो बट जीवन को भी हम क्रिएट नहीं कर सकते, वो और
बना ही हुआ है,
बना ही हुआ है, बट बॉडीज तो मल्टीप्लाई हो रही है,
बॉडी मल्टीप्लाई हो रही
तो
है,
जीवन
ह्यूमन
extra-
बॉडी।
हाँ, ह्यूमन बॉडीज मल्टीप्लाई हो रही है, तो जीवन फिर कैसे मल्टीप्लाई हो रहा है?
जो बकरी और मुर्गा लोग खा जा रहे हैं ना, उसको शरीर नहीं मिल रहा है, इसीलिए वो मानव बन जा रहा है। The animals also have जीवन, huh? They are born. How many chickens, cows and goats are we killing every day? कितना? वो कहाँ जाएगा? उसको शरीर चाहिए, बार बार आता है। वही तो मैं बोला, आई वाज जोकिंग दैट डे, मैं मुर्गी हूँ, मैं पैदा होता हूँ, आप मुझे खा जाते हो, मैं वापस जाता हूँ, मैं वापस आता हूँ, फिर पैदा आता हूँ, फिर खा देता हूँ, 5 बार हो जाता है। नाम लेके, दिस इज टू मच, है ना। एवरी टाइम आई कम, दिस फेलो ईट्स मी अप, आई एम गोइंग टू बिकम लाइक हिम। So the Jivan is already there. You will never find an instance when there is a Jivan and it wants to live and there is no body. And the converse will also never happen. That we have a child. So for sometimes very unfortunate thing that happens with women is the child is stillborn. But basically that's not because the Jivan did not associate. There was some problem in the body itself. The heart just suddenly stopped beating, or there was a brain hemorrhage inside. Which is why we don't have to worry that we'll have a child and there will always be somebody who will come and associate with that womb. Okay? But the previous answer was given by Nagarajji to some guy who studied at IIT Kanpur. He came and asked and he gave this answer. वो उसका सर घूम गया, then he stopped asking the question. So I just repeated the answer. Yeah, karma phala siddhanta, yeah. Yeah, so Sanchit Karm will be there and Prarabdha will also be there. Prarabdha is defined as, we said it yesterday or day before yesterday, no? जो जितना जानता है उतना चाह नहीं पाता, जितना चाहता है उतना कर नहीं पाता है, जितना करता है उतना भोग नहीं सकता, वहां पर किया। जो शेष बचा है वो प्रारब्ध है। But the major events may get carried over or major tendencies, but otherwise really it is said that when the body is going to cease to exist just moments before the jivan leaves the body, because the body, again we have to remember or understand that you cannot willfully leave the body, at least not till a very much advanced stage of awakening or development. And so the only condition under which that happens is when the body is no longer capable of surviving. So just moments before that, it is said that the entire life will flash before the jivan, basically in the chitran kriya at a very very high and rapid speed, super fast speed, and there is a very fast evaluation, again mulyankan of what was right and wrong. So whatever it deems to be right, it will keep it inside itself. Whatever is wrong is flushed out. Which is why when a child is born, it's born zero. It doesn't come back with the old baggage. No matter how much I've fought and how many problems there occur, I come back zero, ready again for a new, understanding. And this refreshing, it's like a reboot of the laptop, and that's how the software is able to run. Otherwise, it would be crazy if we were carrying all the hypothetically, if we were carrying all the weight of, let us say, 500 lifetimes, you think we'd be able to live? We'll just get buried under its weight. We've been able to forget everything that happened and that we did and that happened to us. Unless Yeah, except for maybe some very, very, deeply traumatic experiences, which can leave an impact, emotional impact, but there will be usually no memory of that event, but the result of that event may persist. Yeah, so there is karma and there is phala. Vanishes. Ulta. It is only after the prarabdha vanishes that you will end up realizing. So by giving a so what happens is when there is jagriti here, the chit. So what you're saying is true. So all the sanchita karma really is as images here. This the chintan, bodh, and the anubhav are incorruptible. So in my view, what would happen is when one has chintan, and this chintan starts getting set on its basis, and this is tattvic. Okay, this is pure. This is yathartha. Hmm? So those prarabdhas, those karmas or those sanchit karma or whatever images that we have that are antagonistic to what has been found true will get dropped. This is actually should have been set by this, but because this is missing, this has gone on a free ride. So when this starts, this gets set on this. That's the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is when this is called pratyavartan, when this is able to see the buddhi, this starts getting evaluated by the buddhi. It starts coming under the influence of the buddhi. For instance, when we go and order food at a restaurant, if you come down, to where we are familiar with, the world that we are familiar with, when I go and order at a restaurant and let's say I see a menu of things, I evaluate using the vritti, using these 6 drishtis, which thing I should take. Yeah, so there may be a food item that is tasty but too expensive. There may be another food item which is not tasty and very expensive, but my wife likes. And she says, let's eat this. So what will I do? Should I take the one that is tasty for me but expensive? Should I take the one that is not so tasty but is going to be cheaper for me? Or should I take the one that I don't like but my wife likes and is costly? Yeah, it's going to be different answers for all of you at a given point in time, and that is decided by the vritti. So till then, you are basically telling the waiter, 10 minute ruko. And now because this processing is not happening, idhar, is going back and forth. So what is really happening? The man is not able to go ahead and do what it wants to do because the vritti has put it on hold. We've gone into wait state. And now the vritti is telling the man what you should be doing. If for me the man is more powerful than the vritti, then I will go for option 1. I'm not going to care for money, I'm not going to care for the wife. If I am profit centric, lab is my primary, mindset, I'm going to go for option 2. And if I've just messed up the afternoon with my wife, I'm going to say it's okay if it is expensive. I wish thoda mood ko shant karte hain, let her take what she feels like eating. That's my way of making up, letting go of my taste and basically, saying that okay, gadbad ho gaya, let's just, come back to normalcy. So what is happening here is the man is coming under the influence of the vritti. Okay, and then the vritti has to come under the influence of the chit. In sanchita karma, after chintan, the chit will come under the influence of the buddhi. The buddhi is a seer of yathartata, vastavikta, and satyata. You would have had both for that to happen. When we have both, all sanchita karma that is not according to yathartata, vastavikta, satyata is flushed like it happens in a toilet. Pachak. Just gets pushed out. So it doesn't happen instantaneously. There's both, it will happen instantaneously. There is an intervening stage called avdharna, where the evaluation will take place and it will get flushed out. I mean, technically that's what would happen. It is only after that that you will have full realization. Otherwise, you cannot have, because again, the theory is again very beautiful, that realization in the Atma, final realization is going to be in the Atma as Anubhav, will not happen till there is both. And both cannot happen till this is stuck. So this has to become according to this. For instance, for me to decide that I don't want to spend money, okay, the vritti has to be stronger than the man. Otherwise, the man will have its way. I mean, that's what happens. We make up our mind, I'll wake up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. That was a information here. एक headline आया, कल सवेरे 5 बजे उठना है. कल सवेरे 5 बजे घंटी बजती है. कहाँ? बाहर. ब्रेन तक मैसेज आता है. मन बोलता है, अरे कहाँ यार, सोने दो. So that time, this information is gone. The headline is gone. The resolution is gone. सवेरे उठने के बाद 6 बजे हमको लगता है यार फिर से तूने ना आगे तू फिर ने. Now who's telling who? I made up my mind to get up. I myself did not get up. I myself am again dialoguing with me. अरे यार तूने क्या किया? So this is internal dialogue. Now the चित्त is telling the man, you fool. मैं तेरे को कल बोला था 6 बजे उठ, तू वापस ऐसा ही करता है. The next day morning again the man does the same thing. So now what do I have to do? I have to improve the quality of the man. Using what? By getting it to listen to the vritti. So this is called swatantrit hona. This is mukti. The technically ऐसा है. So it's so ये जो अलग अलग the different orbits in the Jivan, basically Jagriti means that one orbit is learning to listen to the other orbit. Then the third orbit sees something, it is able to control the one before it. Then the second orbit sees it, is able to control the one beyond it. Then the first orbit sees it, then finally the nucleus sees everything and it is able to forever and ever control all of it. That is called Acharan Punta. Then everything is getting controlled by the center, by the Madhyas Kriya. So the Atma will control the Buddhi. Control nahi. Buddhi will be regulated by the Atma because it does not know any better. And the Chit will be regulated by the Buddhi and the Vritti by the Chit and the Man by the Vritti. The theory itself is very mesmerizing. Hona to dur hai, but aligning, yeah, but listening. Conscious aligning. So what is Jeev Chetna? Jeev Chetna is the man coming under the influence of the body. The worst form of Jeev Chetna is with the body, the four Visha, Ahar, Nidra, Bhay, Maithun. आज भी देखिए, who are the people we call as animals in society? Those who molest physically, not the guy who's stealing in the stock market or defrauding. उसको animal नहीं बोलते, उसको intelligent बोलते, लेकिन criminal बोलते. He's intelligently criminal. But this fellow is an animal. Because his body is running the show. वो तो पशु कुत्ता भी ऐसे करता है. नहीं. When you are outraging somebody's modesty and that is your way of life. कुछ लोगों के लिए way of life, no? They'll go in, they'll get bail, come out, do it again. Some of them do it to children. Horrible. Yeah. So that's what is happening. And the body is dictating the man. Which is why people who are, so we would imagine that, somebody who has self-control is seen to be a superior. First over the senses, the body, the four Vishya, then the senses, correct? Then over the likes, dislikes of the man, then over the vritti, then over the chit. So, and this is beautifully explained by the drishti. So somebody who gives up everything for society is looked up upon by society. नहीं, ये सारा त्याग के समाज के लिए कर रहा है. It is of higher value because that is closer to dharma. है ना? It is of higher value than लाभ. In fact, आज के society में हो क्या रहा है? What is happening is, society is closer to this. I'm not saying it is fully dharma. It is in this region. And this is likes, health and profit. Right? So this you have Priya, Hit and Labh. Who does society look up to? Society. The guy who's eating and does what he likes through the day. The guy who's doing Kapalbhati through the day. The guy who's making a lot of money. Or the guy who's trying to ensure social justice. Who has higher value? And finally, everybody listens to the guy who's supposed to know the truth. वो एक होता है, उसके पीछे 1 करोड़ होते हैं. एक ही पोप है, पोप के पास कितना पैसा है? जेब में कुछ नहीं है. कितने लोग मानते हैं पोप को? 80 करोड़ लोग. I'm not saying पोप को है दृष्टि. I'm just saying जो मान्यता. I'm not even saying नहीं है. I'm just giving an example. So this is what is determining the way in which the different kriyas operate. So yeah. All right. So we'll come back to this. Why we don't have नहीं है, always have. कभी कभी तो होता होगा little bit of affection. I don't think any one of us is completely devoid of affection. Okay, at some point in time we do end up having affection. Number one, we doubt people. We doubt their intention. So lack of trust, affection goes out the window. Number two, disrespecting. मैं आपको कम देखता हूँ. I think you're a fool. Now I'm not going to be able to be affectionate anymore. Number three, I have contempt for you. It's called grina. I think you're a fool. Basically a form of disrespecting. Again, affection is gone. Aversion, rejecting, because I am not able to have my way. It is you are not according to me, so I will reject you. Correct? Yeah, the attributes and tendencies in the other, I feel they should not be having. I mean, I feel you should not be like this. Now that causes aversion because you are not according to the way I think you should be. All right. So, really, these are the reasons for not having affection. I think this is a redundant question now. Okay. We don't have affection towards any one person forever. Is there a single person we've had affection for and has maintained forever without any dip? Heck, koi? Somebody? आपके पास है. Nice, good for you. Okay. Huh? Oh, Babaji. Oh, that's an easy one to do. You catch somebody who's perfect, you're going to like them forever. Okay. Or you think is perfect. Okay. So, summary, kya ho gaya? We've done Vishwas, Samman and Sneh. The perspectives of like, health and profit can be different for every human. Hence, we each have a set of likes and dislikes. And when we use the same limited or biased perspective to evaluate people, we are not able to see their basic nature and innateness. And hence, we have an issue with them. Okay. So, you can go to the rest of it at home. I think we'll skip this. There's quite a bit to read. Okay. So that brings us to the end of the foundation of human relationships. So we tried to examine the relationships we feel not just with the rest of humanity, but also with the set of people that we live with on a daily basis using these 3 mulyas. There are 6 more Sthapit Mulya, okay, and 9 more that are expressed, which we will not cover, but I will just briefly mention. Yeah, yeah. It'll come back because the mood changes. The mood is happening in the chit. The conditions that existed for the dip to happen disappear and the favorable conditions reappear. So the affection comes back. Yeah. No, that's because there are old, what we call as mental habits. And the method of study again is coming to you as a headline. It's like a headline in a newspaper. Okay. It's just been 8 days versus 8 years on one side and 8 days on another side. So we'll have to at least put in 8 years. If you want to overcome 8 years of accumulated habit, we'll have to put in at least half of that. So if you're recovering from 20 years of accumulated habit, at least put in 25% of that, 5 years. 33 years of habits will take longer. Some habits, and if what Satyavrata ji was saying, if it is going to some Sanchita Karma and it is from the last 300 years, फिर तो और गहरा मामला है. फिर तो गया. You might as well pull a bedsheet and go off to sleep. है ना, मैं तो सो रहा हूँ, दारू पी के सो जाऊंगा. This is too much. I can't handle it anymore. But so it is hardest in the closest of relationships. Okay, so just to set the expectations right. We can start with at least watching, and then trying to. So step one would be watching. Step two would be really root causing what is happening. Step three would be paying attention to what is correct or understanding it, and then step four would be practicing it. If you try to practice it directly, it may not work. Some people it may just switch, because also the Jivan Kriya is very dynamic. It's not a physical Kriya, right? It's not a chemical reaction that we can predict कि इतनी देर में गर्म होगा. जैसे he mixed sodium hydroxide, caustic soda and water, and we knew it is going to stay hot for the next 4 hours. And the soap is going to take, it's predictable. Soap making is predictable. Human change is not predictable because it is not material in nature. It's conscious. सो चैतन्य में जो परिवर्तन है बोल नहीं सकते. कभी कभी कोई चीज फट से स्विच हो जाता है, कभी कभी नहीं होता है, एंड इट टेक्स टाइम. फर्स्ट इज वॉचिंग. Watching is becoming aware of what is happening, because right now we're not even aware. The long-term fix for relationships. Short-term fixes, go for a walk to Uttarakhand, na? Have ice cream, all that. But watch, become aware of internal events. Root cause. Identify why. Identify. Pay attention to. Study. Accept the missing bhava or reality. Mindfully practice the inculcated or desired bhava or aspect. E. Bring the whole thing together. And what is the whole thing? Myself, Jivan, existence, and acharan or conduct. You have to tie it back to the whole, because if you just do it in bits and pieces, वो काम नहीं करेगा. Mindfully practice the inculcated or the desired feeling or bhava. So I have, for example, I paid attention and I found that affection is missing. Yeah. And now what is affection? So I meditate on what is affection. Correct? I meditate on the person and I recollect the theory that they should have Swabhav Dharma. I have the same Swabhav Dharma. Now, but I have to put it into action when the scene happens. That is called living. The right one that we wrote, ki ji kar dekhna. Okay, and this takes time. Usually what will happen is, I am not watching. So stage one is Okay, you can finish writing and then. Yeah, and Acharan. Same three that we wrote on. Bring the whole theory together. You have to place it in the entire theory also. If I just try to do it isolatedly, काम नहीं करेगा वो. Everything else put together will help me action that particular area. So really what happens to us is in stage 1, we are not aware of the internal event. Okay. So I'm stuck in a rut. Every time it comes fire, every time it comes fire, every time it comes fire. So that's the reaction phase. If I am able to become aware, then the reaction will not be so fast. It will slow down or the intensity may reduce. Then I have to reflect, go back and reflect on the root cause. So in this entire spectrum, why is that happening? So there will be some aspect that this aspect of that person I don't like in my chitta, I did this in the vritti, this happened, whereas this is the swabhav. You will come to some inference. You have to take that inference, which is C, and pay attention to it or study it and kind of accept it. Because again, what will happen is, if I don't pay attention to it, this will come as a headline. I am doubting her intention. मान लो एक root cause आ गया. But I have to pay attention to that. I have to let it sink in. So she is really helping me sink in. When after that happens, I have to then keep it in mind while living. Otherwise, what will happen is I have studied relationship on my laptop. When it comes in the front, it's gone. So it takes time. So if you are able to do 4, then we would say that is called Vyavahar Abhyas. Okay, in this one small area. Yeah, and then you have to do 5 again. You have to again go back to the fundamental theory. Because really, as in our mind, in the chit, as the scene of reality, the scene of there being jivan, the scene of family is, as it settles down, then these things, will become faster. There is a group of 4 or 5 of us. We are, let me say, researching it. I should not use the word developing it. Since the past 6 months. We have people who've been at this for more than 13 years. We have read the books at least 5 to 6 times. All of us teach all the books. And when we realize that when we try and implement it, we're not so. We're taking each aspect. So if you take affection, okay, how does affection fail? Why does it fail? So then I have 3 conditions. Then you root cause it. So we're developing this for each one of the. So this part is called Manan. The D is called, the C and D is called Manan. The change. Okay. So it takes time. I mean, we're doing C and D. We are identifying the C and Ds for all the set of. Yeah. At least we know we have something to do, and it is internal. Bahar, so you don't have to, make some big change, shave your head off, leave the family, sell off your belong. कुछ नहीं करना है ना. And Jivan has Akshay Shakti. So you are not expending anything. I am energized by being in this Urja. And that Urja is infinite. And I am never ending. So what is there to lose? Nothing. I'm just deploying my energies in particular direction. तो इसमें आराम से कर सकते हैं. Everybody has an hour a day. Every human being has an hour a day. Below poverty line, above poverty line, extremely rich, richest. सबके पास 1 घंटा है जो फालतू जाता है. So yeah, we are trying to come up with a abhyas or a practice manual. It's crossed 100 pages. The manual. We're trying to bring in all the practices together to one place. I mean, on what needs to be done. Yeah. It was easier to be a goat. And बीच में it's okay. If this looks tiring, then वो pizza and burger रखा ही है. कहाँ जा रहा है? As long as you're not stealing it, मतलब खा लेंगे, क्या problem? वही करेंगे. When it becomes unbearable, सामने पिज्जा हट डोमिनोज बैठा ही है, एक घूम के आ जाएंगे वापस, है ना? क्या प्रॉब्लम है? It's nice to meet people. It's nice to make friends. अभी देखो बहुत सारा theory research, even in my own experience of being in this for so many years, I often share with my wife too that this behavioral aspect that we read on the first day is very important. We need the entire spectrum of relations to live a healthy life. Because when you live just one, then you can get bogged down in it. When you just, so we need friends, we need family, we need the entire spectrum. And yeah, and it's good to have some light moments, or what would you would also call as light relationships, not those very strong, intense relationships that can either take you very up or completely drain the life out of you. So they did this very famous study in Harvard. It's all over the news. I'm sure many of you would have read of it. They followed people. It is the longest running study on human behavior to date for 70 years. 70 साल के लिए they followed people who were Harvard graduates. It was a scientific study. And the inference was that the people who are the happiest were not the people who did the best at work and who got the most money, but that had the most friendly relationships. So it's good to be friends. If one doesn't have friends, good to seek out places where you can have friends. These kind of workshops are a good place to pick up new friendships because you can start with zero. Counter zero से चालू हो सकता है. All the others are loaded. इधर क्या है zero? They don't know your past. You don't know their past. स्वभाव धर्म बोल के you can start. Just practice विश्वास सम्मान स्नेह. अच्छा, इसका we also call this वातावरण का दबाव. It is the pressure of the. So the thing is, when both of us have signed up for the same thing, now you cannot make those mistakes because our own teaching will create that internal pressure. अरे this guy was in the workshop with me. इसके साथ तो अपमान नहीं कर सकता मैं. We have both heard the same thing. So ये जो collective pressure it helps. So I know that there's a WhatsApp group and all that, but maybe you can take some initiative to meet up once or twice a year. If you all feel we should meet back for 3 days, 4 days, we can do that. We can go over the slides that we skipped, or even redo the session. But really, in the interim, because relief is only at pratiti, at certitude. It takes a while to get there. Bhas, abhas mein, the period of bhas is enjoyable because that is Shravan. In Shravana, what we're doing is we're doing the textual study of the literature, and that can be very exciting because it will feed our curiosity and intrigue us, and it's very fulfilling. But every person will reach a stage where they feel that they have read the text, or they cannot read it anymore, or not analyze it anymore. Nothing more will come out. You kind of hit a plateau. And then you just have to live. You have to do what the world does. You have to, take care of yourself. You have to be healthy. You have to do pranayam. You have to earn a bit, work a bit, cook a bit, talk to people. So that's like the long haul. That's manan. And then one will reach certitude or pratiti. उसके पहले राहत नहीं है. There's no relief. Then the only other relief is deep sleep. Nidra, sushupti, complete blankness, shut down everything. So that really brings us to the end of this. We'll come back to the human family. So we have one session after lunch. I'll put the brief of family. I'll just explain the different relationships. Pick any one relationship that you feel we want to discuss, and we'll discuss that. Okay? नहीं सिंपल है. We don't have to. We won't do any chopping. देखो डाइसेक्शन नहीं करना है ना. जो नहीं है उसका गाना गा के कुछ निकलता नहीं है ना. We'll just talk of what it should be. ठीक है. So we'll come back, do that, and then like I said, post lunch I'll do the summary, okay, and of Manvita Punacharan, and just put out what's there, and we'll finish, so that tomorrow in the first half 9 to 1 we have time for open questions and any topic that you feel we want to address. There were two candidates. One was education, we can take that, and the second was our relationship with money and prosperity, because discussing prosperity theoretically is easy, but getting to the mindset will need some discussion. Okay. Creating mass awareness. Yeah. Yeah. So mass